The marksman Bradley Beal raised his stock by finishing just below Steph Curry for the NBA regular season points per game. Now he looks to sell high and merge the two as he heads west to the most successful team of the last 10 years, this time with a game plan to focus on a championship run. Be sure to click the subscribe button and check out the links in the description for more latest hoops content. With Klay Thompson nursing himself back to full fitness following two devastating injuries in 2019 and 2020, a new shooting guard has presented himself as an option for the Golden State Warriors, the three-time All-Star, Bradley Beal. Beal and Thompson have been compared to each other a lot over the last 5 years as two of the best shooting guards in the NBA. Beal with his effective playmaking and Thompson with his incredibly underrated defense. The two things this pair both have in common is their shooting ability. Both sit very closely in their field goal percentage as Thompson has a 45.9 career field goal percentage and Beal has a 45.6. But with Klay coming back from two heavy injuries in the last 2 years, he'll need some game management and the Warriors will still need the same production. Look no further than Beal's impressive 2020-2021 season where he hit a stunning 31.3 points per game average with a 48.5 field goal percentage. The question will always remain though, can he do it in the postseason? So let's dig into this. In his 9 years with the Wizards, Beal has made the playoffs a total of 5 times, reaching the Eastern Conference semifinals on 3 occasions. In his first playoffs in 2014, he averaged 19.2 points per game and a very impressive 41.5% from threes. In the 2015 postseason, he played through injuries to hit back-to-back playoff career highs in a close loss to the Hawks in round 2. And finally, in the 2017 playoffs, he upped his production to an impressive 47.1% from the field and 24.8 points per game in what was to end in a narrow 7-game series defeat to the Boston Celtics. His next playoff series would be a hard-fought 6-game loss to the Toronto Raptors in 2018, a well-versed team that was 1 year away from a championship. His three-point percentage skyrocketed to 46.7% for the series, which is impressive considering the amount of shots Beal would have had to take. Which brings us to the present and his most recent postseason display. Following a 17-6 run that pushed the Wizards into 8th seed, Beal helped Washington win a play-in tournament against the Pacers. Following a 4-1 loss to Philadelphia, we can see his all-around production has increased massively. His rebounds per game have doubled from previous playoff appearances with 6.2 per game compared to when it was hanging around the 3 mark of previous years. And more importantly, his average points per game was an astonishing 30%. Numbers don't lie. So you ask, can he do it in the postseason? The answer is a resounding yes. And he could probably do it even more with better players around him. Now let's talk about where he fits into this Golden State Warriors team. Beal was the season's second top scorer last year behind Steph Curry. So a very simple math lesson will leave you with no doubt that combining those points gives you a much needed cushion in games. Add a Klay Thompson return to the mix and you've got wins littered onto the scorecard. So there's no real question as to whether the Warriors want him. The most regular comments we hear from loyal players like Lillard or Beal is that they have no desire to leave their respective basketball franchises and are more than happy to spend their entire career as a one-man team. That's all well and good for the first 5 or 6 years, but when winning individual accolades wears off, the sound of championship runs and the bright lights of the West Coast suddenly become mighty appealing. Beal has 1 more year on his contract, so we understand that many assume the 28-year-old will stick to his guns and jump next year. However, reports have recently flooded the landscape that Beal is looking to potentially request a trade which will send him to the marketplace for many suitors. The Celtics are a team reportedly interested in bringing in Beal, but losing Jaylen Brown in the process. This doesn't seem like such a smart deal when Boston would likely have to throw in future draft picks. And considering Brown is only 24 years of age with an excellent 24.7 points per game for the 2020-21 season, it might not be the best option for the Celtics. Despite the fact that Beal and Tatum are good friends, there's no room for sentiment in business. Philly seems to have thrown their hat in the ring too, with Ben Simmons likely to be offered up. But let's be real, even if the 76ers did sweeten the deal, there's no way Washington would accept that trade. Ben Simmons has been neglected even by his own franchise, which will give the entire league food for thought in what could end up being easy negotiation for any other team facing the offer of Simmons as a trade. Simmons has been criticized by fans, teammates, and most notably just finished off the back of an incredibly poor playoff performance. His stock is down, and therefore it might not be enough. Beal is currently a more important asset, primarily for his scoring ability, but still, it matters. The Miami Heat has also caught the attention of the press lately as they look to push for another star. But they have basically 1 future pick to offer, and likely Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson as part of the deal. Is that sufficient to pick the Wizards' interest? We think not. The Warriors are the only team from these admirers with adequate assets that could send this deal over the edge. Right now they have the number 7 and 14 picks overall in the draft, which is a fantastic position to be in. And let's face it, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green aren't looking to be part of a rebuild team. They're all in their 30s, and they most likely want to make the most of the back end of their career, particularly Steph, who without Klay for the best part of 2 seasons had to carry this Warriors team on his back. a feat he achieved with some amount of class with the most points per game average of his career last season with 32%. But the best wants the best, and Bradley Beal is much needed to relieve the shooting king of his duties. And another thing to note, Beal fits the Warriors mold. He's exactly the kind of player the Golden State Warriors want, a competent shooter who can score without having the ball always in his hands. Just because Beal isn't known as a strong defender doesn't mean that it matters. Golden State want the extra points on the floor and much needed rest for the main cast. Head coach Steve Kerr should be happy with Beal too, as his attitude on the court has been impeccable despite many disappointments and changes to the Washington roster in recent years. Even if he does force a trade, Golden State will leave the criticism to the Wizards fans, as long as he goes to them. The deadline for Beal seems to be looming, as the upcoming draft will surely be part of the deal. What's more, Andrew Wiggins is definitely the first name on the list of outgoings to help push this through. A well-known return to form in the second half of last season saw Wiggins bring his field goal percentage to the best of his career so far, shooting 47.7%, and his three-point shooting improved to reach its highest at 38%. In spite of this, Wiggins has to go, as Golden State needs a prized piece on the chessboard in order to secure a checkmate. And then there's three other players who need no introduction to the Warriors trade discussion. Jordan Poole, who just turned 22, gave a fine display, averaging 12 points per game in just 19.2 minutes last year, with 43.2% from the field, a positive departure from his low 30s field goal percentage of the previous season. He'll be in the conversation for sure. James Wiseman will once again be potentially used as a bargaining chip or even a diversion during negotiations, but our best bet is Golden State will keep him. Why, you ask? Because he was a second overall pick. He's only 20 years old and he's 7'1". But while Wiseman stays, Eric Paschall could go. His symbolic breakout year of 2019-2020, while significant, still leaves behind some question marks, mainly regarding his fitness. Issues with his hip last season left Warriors fans wondering if the 24-year-old might be brittle. This is something Washington will have to keep their eye on too, as they don't want to trade for any pieces that end up sitting on the physio table. Then again, it's early days and there's no signs from his recovery that he struggled to get his game back. On top of the many options the Warriors have on offer, more importantly, they simply don't interfere with Washington's business in the East. Boston, Philly, and Miami are all competing teams with the Wizards in the East, which could cause conflict for the franchise if they meet these teams in the playoffs. Imagine making a trade only to lose to that very player in the first or second round. Doesn't look good, does it? So for self-protection, it's obviously wise for Washington to see the back of him and whisk him over to the other side of the country. One thing is clear. With the draft drawing closer, someone needs to pull the trigger on a timely deal that sends Beal to what would be the new best in the Western Conference. Let's hope he makes up his mind before the Warriors search elsewhere for a better arrangement with another team that can offer up someone else special. Either way, we'll find out in the next couple days. Do you think Bradley Beal is bailing on the Wizards for a place in the Bay Area? Comment below to let us know your thoughts, and be sure to subscribe for more. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss another one of our videos. We'll see you next time, latest Hoops fans. Until then, keep shooting your shot.